Hi, welcome back. So we're in a series called Rejected to Restored. And what we did was we had some people send in some questions that they have on the topic of rejection. So I'm going to ask the person helping me today, what is the first question?
Is rejection a permanent state of mind?
Oh, wow. Um, that is an awesome question. And I think that what it speaks to is there hope after repeated experiences with a certain thing? So is rejection a permanent state of mind? I would say absolutely not, because God is the transformer of minds. And the Bible talks about him renewing our minds. And so everything that the enemy would try to bring to us, feelings of rejection, feelings of shame, just the lies that he tells us, none of those are things that we have to accept as permanent. So I would say it's absolutely not a permanent state of mind. And in addition to that, it really is one of those weaknesses that we have in our flesh that God can use as the platform for his glory. And so the Bible talks about that in our weakness, he is strong. So sometimes when I'm struggling with a certain thing, I actually will find myself rejoicing because I think about when God delivers me, and as I go through this process, I'm developing a testimony to encourage other people with and to give them hope with. And when he brings me out, this is now just yet another platform for how good he is, how faithful he is, and how much he can transform me. And I remember dealing with great feelings of rejection. And I remember thinking to myself, when God turns this around, this is going to be an amazing testimony for other people. And he did just that, because what started as a space of feeling greatly rejected, I now have this assurance in God and this confidence and this courage and this faith that really started out the totally opposite way. But I am a walking, talking testimony that even if you start way down here, way at the bottom, that God can bring you up, that he's the lifter of your head. And so that no matter how you started out, and in fact, I've almost just kind of chuckled from time to time when I think about where I started, because him being able to bring me from so far is just, it's an encouragement to anyone who can hear it that, man, if he can bring her from that far, God is no respecter of persons, then he can bring anyone from any depth. The Bible says that if we make our bed in hell, he'll come down there with us. And so basically, it's not a permanent state of mind. And in fact, it is just another space that God can show himself strong in and bring us up to the height that he would have for us. So thank you. Great question. What's the next question?
How do I have the patience and understanding when it comes to dealing with rejection?
How do I have the patience and understanding when it comes to dealing with rejection? So I'll address that two different ways. The person didn't specify if they meant with themselves or with other people, so I'll just kind of address that two different ways. So when it comes to having patience and understanding with yourself when you have been rejected, I would say understand that if the God of the universe gives us grace, then we have no need to be harder on ourselves than God is. So if he says, my grace is sufficient for you, then we ought to take on that grace and not say to ourselves, well, that's just not available for me. I'm just the only person this is not available for. It's available for you. It's available for all his children. So I would say, remember that if God has grace for you, that you should give grace to yourself. And what I'm not referring to is like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. I can behave however I want. That's not at all what I'm talking about, because God's grace doesn't mean permissiveness for sin. That's not what he's referring to. But I would say, remember the grace of God and ask God to help you extend his type of grace to yourself. And when it comes to patience and understanding with other people, I'm going to kind of make an assumption that maybe the person was asking, like, if a person is rejecting them, how to have patience and understanding with the person who's rejecting them. What I would say is, this is not in any way meant to permit what the other person is doing, but I would just say remember that a lot of people who do that, who are people who reject other people, it is in response to them feeling rejected themselves. That does not mean that it's okay. That doesn't mean that. But I would just say, we hear this saying that hurt people hurt people. And in many cases, that's true. So I would say be understanding that this person could be someone who has experienced a lot of rejection, but also be the person who decides that you're going to be the antidote. That even though you have been on the receiving end of rejection, that you're not going to let that seep into your being and cause you to be a person who becomes toxic or manipulative or unkind to other people. So I would say, keep in your mind that there is grace to be extended to yourself and the other person, but also determine in your heart that you're going to have the courage to turn the thing around. What's the next question?
How to deal with rejection when the reasoning is not clear immediately?
Okay, so how do you deal with rejection when the reason is not clear immediately? So for years, I used to have this issue where if I didn't understand why a person mistreated me in a certain way, then I couldn't let it go. So I would just run over and over and over it in my mind, and I would be like, why did this person do this to me? And I felt like I had to study their behaviors and study, what did I miss? How did I miss that? I'm supposed to know about how all this works. How did I miss that? How did I end up in this place? And so I would end up in a loop that I couldn't get out of because I had this need to understand. But it was several years ago that I kind of had this epiphany that often people don't know themselves why they've done a certain thing to you. So while I'm over racking my brain trying to figure out why someone did something to me and feeling like I need that for closure, they couldn't tell me, even if they wanted to tell me the truth. A lot of people, they wouldn't be able to tell me. So what I got to the point of, and what I'm still working towards, is just radical acceptance that if a person treats me in a way that is not going to work for me, I may not ever know why, and they may not know why, and that has to be okay. So it's just kind of one of those that, not because knowing the reasoning in some cases, really when it boils down to it, wouldn't make a difference. And we think that it will because that's the part of our flesh that wants to control things. We figure, okay, well, if I understand the reason, then I'll have a handle on this and I'll feel better. But the reality is there are certain things that people do to you. It doesn't matter why they did it. It wouldn't make it any better for you to know why they did it. It was just that horrible that, and honestly, in some cases, it may make it worse. And so I would just say we have to become, or that it would be good for us to become people who practice that radical acceptance that sometimes people do things and they may not even be aware of why. They may not be at that point in their healing journey to know why. And that we can still say, this was done. This doesn't work for me, so I'm setting a boundary in this relationship where I'm not allowing access anymore. And I may not ever know why, but I can go on. I can move forward in my life and not allow this to hold me hostage, even though I may not understand why. And what's the next question?
How to figure out your goal or where you go in life after rejection?
Oh, okay, that's a great one. So when I was younger, I used to respond to every person who rejected me or every negative scenario in a relationship by creating some sort of goal in my mind where I would feel like once I accomplish this, that'll show them. And at the time, I thought that was a good thing because I thought that made me ambitious. It made me goal-oriented, and that I was just going to show these people just how wrong they were for mistreating me. But I realize now that when you do that, when you put the people who are, in essence, your enemies. When you make them the reason why you go towards certain goals, that you're making idols out of them. You're making idols out of your enemies. And the person who asked the question is probably not referring to that at all. But I'm just speaking from what I was doing that was not good, so that you don't do the same thing. So I was doing that in a negative way and didn't realize it. Now what I do is that I try to have goals independent of whatever relationship is going on in my life. That way, it's not that I am creating something in response to something negative, because it can be difficult. It's not impossible. Sometimes it can be done well, but it can be difficult to respond to a negative situation with something that really is purely healthy, because sometimes there's some get back mixed in with this good goal. Maybe you have a good goal, like, someone rejects you in a relationship and you're like, man, I'm about to get healthy. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to, start working out. I'm about to get this degree. Those are great things. But sometimes the motive behind that is a little bit of, is get back. And so we want our goals to be, I'm going to do this thing because that's what I've been called to do. That's what God has called me to do. That's who I want to be, and not, I'm going to show this other person. So I would say to ask the Lord continually to be guiding you on the path that he has set for you, so that when the rejection comes, that person who may feel like an enemy at that point, that they're not the reason why you start getting motivated towards a certain thing, that God remains the reason. And so for me, it's now, and this took a long time for me to get to this place, because that used to be my natural reaction. Every time something went wrong in a relationship, I was like, I'm about to accomplish another thing and I'm going to show them. But now, the way I look at it is this: I'm always on the path that God has set for me. So if along the way someone comes in and they reject me, well, that just doesn't have anything to do with it. It no longer is the reason why I'm driven towards certain goals. God stays at the center of my reasoning. And then let's say, to the person's question, let's say that you maybe we're in a relationship and it kind of took a lot of your focus, and you do need a new goal because you were focused on that relationship for whatever reason. And now you're like, man, I don't have something to kind of work towards, look forward to, give me some purpose in my life. Then in that case, I would go to the Lord in prayer and say, God, what would you have me to do? And if you feel like you're not getting an answer to that question in a broad sense, then I would suggest something that I still do to this day every morning is get up in the morning, every morning, and say, Lord, what would you have me to do today? And whatever he says, go do that. And you will find yourself walking the narrow path that he has set for you, because you went to him first thing in the morning and gave him the space to direct your path throughout your whole day. So thank you all for watching this. And if you have any questions that you'd like to submit, you can put them in the comments, or you can send them to me. And if you want it to be more anonymous, and we won't release the names of who's sending what question or anything like that, but feel free to submit ideas that you have on this topic, or really any topic that you have that you'd like to be talked about in this space. Thank you so much again for watching. God bless you. I'll see you soon.